The Kansas City Chiefs are back in action in St. Joe today for more training camp. And guys, there is some breaking news in this one, including false reporting by yours truly, your very own, yours truly, your favorite armchair of the scrambling variety. But we will get into that in a moment. We will start here with the injury report. Chiefs players not practicing today. Wide receiver Hollywood Brown, wide receiver Sky Moore, tight end Jake Brenningstool, safety Deion Bush, and cornerback Christian Fulton. Hollywood Brown and Sky Moore remaining on this list after that devastating previous practice for the wide receiver core. But now we're getting into some things. There are 3 new players on this Kansas City Chiefs team. Cornerback Azizi Hearn, 47, is here at practice this morning. He was among the tryout players here on Wednesday. He would appear to be taking a roster spot vacated by punter Edde Japliski. Now, here's the interesting thing. I reported that the Chiefs had signed Kwame Lassiter II. We'll get to that in a moment. But the Chiefs had brought in somewhere between 4 and 6 players for tryouts. I can't remember exactly which. But the one that was reported, and I got this from 2 sources. Apparently, the second source got it from the first source, and the first source was wrong. But apparently, Kwame Lassiter was the one player they didn't sign of that group. So I apologize for that. I have made an effort not to just run with stories, but it seemed pretty out there. I saw a tweet about it and a fully formed article from, I believe, Arrowhead Addict. So that is what it is. I believe I will have a video at least on Azizi Hearn because he has some promising numbers. I have done no work on him, but I was able to find an RAS score. For the wide receiver they signed, I was not able to find an RAS score. And for the second defensive back they signed, I think he had a poor RAS score. This has been a couple hours ago now since I was looking at this. But for Azizi Hearn, 6'1.5" tall, 206 pounds. That's a pretty good weight for a cornerback, but he is listed at safety here. I have yet to see where he is playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. It says cornerback here, so he would be a little bit on the slower side for a corner, but he has a good height, good weight, 18 reps on the bench press. That's good stuff. 37.5-inch vertical is definitely corner worthy. 10-foot 7-inch broad jump is a good number. Then you have the 40-yard dash at 4.48, which is a little. You like to have him in the 4.4s. You get to 4.5s, it starts to get questionable. 4.48 right on that line there. A 1.59 10-yard split would not be a good number for a cornerback. Short shuttle of 4.23 and 3-cone drill of 6.92. Those would all translate down a little bit in grading for a cornerback. Then we have this from Matt Derrick. Also, cornerback Ajani Carter is here wearing number 46, formerly worn by Darius Rush, which there is a note on this in a moment as well. Number 8 is now Keyshawn Smith. Keyshawn Smith, from what I'm finding, is a wide receiver. I was able to find some stats for him so far, and he looks to be kind of middling. He's kind of, ironically, when we start to talk about him, a little bit like Brashard Smith in receiving, never really standing out. So I'm wondering if he has some good speed. I think size-wise, he's a little undersized. Again, haven't done a whole lot of work into this. Then Matt Derrick answering Country Boy 567, where is Kwame Lassiter? My assumption is that someone put 2 and 2 together and came up with 5. Lassiter was in St. Joe for a tryout but didn't sign with the Chiefs, which explains why only one account reported it. And yours truly ran with it, so I apologize for that. Sometimes we get them wrong. Oh no, do I not have... So Darius Rush and Erik I'm blanking on his name. He was another defensive back. They were waived with injury designations. Darius Rush is kind of upsetting because he has all the tools that you would want in a defensive back. He has all the tools you would want for a cornerback, just never really able to translate it onto the field. So that is what it is. I was holding out hope that he could be a special teams ace. I think that the Steelers and the Colts have tried that with him already, and it just didn't stick. Not sure what's going on there, but for whatever reason. And then Matt Derrick reports also back at practice Friday is right tackle Jawaan Taylor. This is a good note, whether you feel good about Jawaan Taylor or not. Having all of those options at the right tackle position is a good thing for the Kansas City Chiefs. The more competition they have along this offensive line, which is really at this point along two spots on the offensive line, the better it will be for the Kansas City Chiefs in this upcoming season. If for no other reason than we have seen so many injuries the past couple of years. You know, it's interesting. The Chiefs, during that early dynastic period, the Ramesses period, the early dynastic period here for the Kansas City Chiefs, they were very lucky with injuries, not a whole lot of injuries at all. But then the past couple of seasons, they've kind of piled up for the Kansas City Chiefs, and the organization hasn't really suffered all that much for it, going to 3 consecutive Super Bowls. But having Jawaan Taylor back is definitely a good thing. And then we start to get into some notes from the plays themselves. Chiefs receiver Xavier Worthy walked down for practice, so appears he's not in concussion protocol. Andy Reid will talk to reporters after practice. Remember, Xavier Worthy was one of those players that did get banged up. He came back in that practice, but then missed the next practice and is apparently back at full speed here. So it's a very interesting sort of couple days for Xavier Worthy. Hard to say what was going on there. Why not be cautious at this point in time? Why not, especially when you had 3 wide receivers go down in the very same practice? Why not the next day just take the foot off the accelerator a little bit? And it appears that might have been what the Chiefs did, as Xavier Worthy was back out there today. Mahomes finding Xavier Worthy early in the unit period. Again, any movement on this front is worth keeping an eye on. Xavier Worthy came on towards the end of last year, but he was very strong at the beginning of last year as well. We have to remember that Ravens game where he accounted for so many yards between rushing and receiving that it was kind of one of these revelatory moments. Is this going to be what the Chiefs offense will be? It slowed down the next couple of weeks, and then obviously Rashee Rice got injured. So we still have yet to see this Kansas City Chiefs offense at full power, and we're not going to see it early this year either, assuming Rashee Rice eventually gets suspended. It would be nice to have word on that, if for no other reason than the coaching staff can start to plan for it, but I guess we will just have to wait and see. The Bills get all of these rules changed for them. What if the Kansas City Chiefs just get a couple bent for themselves? The suspension sort of stuff is not really, it's a ticky-tacky sort of thing. It's at Goodell's discretion, as I understand it anyway. But Josh Allen can't touch the ball in overtime, so they changed the overtime rules. Josh Allen cannot run for a first down, so they changed the way that spotting is done. What if Patrick Mahomes can't catch a break with some injuries, and so they just kind of underwear gnome on some suspensions? Chiefs' first offensive line remains Simmons, Suamataia, Humphrey, Smith, and Taylor. I think that this is a good sign. I think that the worst sign on here is Taylor, right? I think that Jalen Moore, I would like to see Jalen Moore get reps at right tackle, be at least to light a fire under Jawaan Taylor, get some looks at the beginning of practice as the starting right tackle, just to make him mad if that works for him. But Suamataia is the guy that I remain hopeful that he will be a plus level offensive guard. He has all the tools in the world to do it. If he was able to re-find that fire for football, or whatever happened in the middle of last season that he never got back on the field. Mahomes, this comes from Nick Jacobs. Mahomes on the rollout, he buys time until Noah Gray for the diving touchdown. Only place Mahomes could put it around coverage. This might seem also ran among these notes, right? Like, okay, so what? It was Patrick Mahomes to Noah Gray. We've seen that before. Putting it where only Noah Gray can get it. That's midseason form. It is striking me more and more as we see these wild throws from Mahomes in training camp that he is in midseason form. He has been working this offseason. That last game, we will not name it here, lit a fire under him. Think of it, Mahomes right now, were it not for two absolute catastrophe games from the offensive line, might be wearing 5 rings. So the first Super Bowl loss, allegedly, against the Buccaneers, no one seems to remember that game. I don't remember having watched it. That game was after the Chiefs had already beat the Buccaneers earlier in the season and had beaten the Buccaneers in what was on pace to be embarrassing fashion. The Chiefs, for some reason, in Andy Reid fashion, let their foot off the throttle let their foot off the gas in the second half, and the Buccaneers nearly came back, but they did not. The Chiefs were able to hang on for that win. It is my belief that the Chiefs were the better team that year, and things just broke down in the Super Bowl. With all of the injuries that accumulated during the playoff run, especially. The game last year, that's just how we'll talk about it. I just have to admit, I think we all have to admit that maybe the Eagles were the better team. Maybe. I'm not ready to admit it, right? I think the Chiefs could have had a chance. And that's the thing with that game. There was the first half or so, the first quarter and a half, it was sort of like, oh, well, the Chiefs have dug themselves out of something like this before. This isn't going to be anything strange for them. It went downhill from there. Now, Jared Sapp says to Caleb James tweets out, FAU would have blown up Minshew. Good twist look for what would have been, a sack. Good, Jared Sapp says, good to hear. Literally the first FAU note I think I've heard all camp. I don't like FAU. I don't think FAU is in danger of losing his roster spot, but he and Gelati might be competing to be the 8th defensive lineman edge who dressed on game days. If I understand rookie contracts, and I'm not guaranteeing that I do, I don't think it would do you any good to cut FAU this year. I think you would still have to pay him that money. Next year, it would. I do think you could trade him this year. I think that would be an option with the way that those contracts are set up. But cutting him this year, I don't think does you any good. I think he is on the roster unless traded this season. So good to hear from FAU. We haven't heard a whole lot from the defensive line in general, and that's not completely unusual because they're not hitting the quarterback. We will have a much better idea of what this defensive line can do after that first preseason game, which is approaching quickly. Caleb James says, Mike Dana getting the better of Josh Simmons off the edge here, missed his lunch, and Dana slipped a nice rip. Missed his punch, I'm assuming that is, and Dana slipped a nice rip. He's human. Josh Simmons got beat by Mike Dana. Good for Mike Dana. Mike Dana is, I think, underrated. His real deal here, I think he would have been drafted higher had he been able to do the testing. Remember, this was the COVID year. Had he been able to do the testing, I think he would have turned a few more heads because he is undersized, but he is overstrengthed. He is overexplosived. I don't know what his speed would have been. I don't know what probably he wouldn't have done the agility drills. Not a lot of guys do. But I think that he would have been drafted higher than the Chiefs ended up getting him had he been able to show off his skills really on a large stage. As guys start feeling out Simmons' game, There will be some of this, and it is incumbent upon the rookie tackle to make the adjustments. It is probable, in my opinion, what happened here is that Dana noticed, okay, well, this is what happens. He likes to do this punch, then this, right? So Dana set him up, slipped the punch, and then got a rip in there and took the corner on Josh Simmons. So as this happens, as Josh Simmons is facing these guys over and over again, as Josh Simmons is on film in the preseason, people will learn things about him, and he will have to work harder and work differently in order to keep that facade about him that he is the invincible left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. A good note here, Jeffrey Bassa with a leaping interception over the middle during 7-on-7. Great play. That's why you picked Jeffrey Bassa. So one of the interesting things to look at with Brett Veach and his scouting department, Brett Veach loves linebackers that have an incredible vertical leap, or he loves linebackers that cannot jump. There is no in between. There is a green score or a red score, and you are really good and explosive, or you are really not. And it seems that the guys who don't have the athleticism do better for the defensive purposes. But Jeffrey Bassa here, 6'1", 232 pounds, 21 reps on the bench press. Now, you see that weight there, 232. That scores just 4.78 out of 10 for weight. However, most of the linebackers you see that are 6'1" aren't in the 230s. Cam Jones, for example, I believe Cam Jones is 6'2", but on the shorter side, and he is in the 220s. The 6'1", 230 guys, that's really compact. That is really stout. 21 reps on the bench press, a 38.5-inch vertical leap, scores a 9.49 for linebackers, 9-foot 10-inch broad jump. Less impressive, but still impressive. A 4.63 40-yard dash is a good number, scores 8.29 out of 10. The 20 and 10-yard splits were projected because this would have been a pro day, but the 1.59 10-yard split projected is an 8.66 if that number is real. The three-cone drill there of 7.34, not a great number. But Jeffrey Bassa is a coverage type linebacker, the type of linebacker that Drue Tranquill was brought in to be. Drue Tranquill was in his first year with the Chiefs and slipped a little bit last year. We will see a little bit more from Drue Tranquill later in this video. Mahomes with some great play fake work, but Jaden Hicks was right there to stop the route in the flats. And keep an eye on this, guys, this is very important this preseason. If there is one thing to watch on the defense, if there's one young player to watch on the defense, it might be Omar Norman-Lott, but it might be Jaden Hicks. If Omar Norman-Lott can become disruptive, probably it's Omar Norman-Lott, but the close number 2 is Jaden Hicks. If Jaden Hicks can be who it looks like he might be, the defense is going to be nasty for years to come. Steve Spagnuolo has not really had that superstar safety that would make the back end of the defense click. Tyrann Mathieu, in my opinion, was diminished by the time he got here, and you see that with the fact that he just retired. And if he was diminished enough to retire, you have to think that the last couple of years the last year or so, maybe that he was in Kansas City, maybe he wasn't the full honey badger. Nick Jacobs also reporting Chris Jones with the quick feet. He would have sacked Mahomes on the play once his drop was complete. Against who, Nick? Who? Was he beating Kingsley? Was he beating Kingsley and Creed? Was he beating Creed? Was he beating Creed and Trey? We need to know these details. I'm hoping that it wasn't Kingsley. Then we get an interesting three-pronged note here from Nick Jacobs. Minshew to Royals on an intermediate route near the sidelines. Mike Edwards mistimed his jump. Otherwise, a deflection or pick. Instead, Royals secured it for what would be a first. Starting to ask, Now I know this is Minshew here, but there's a couple different notes here for Bailey Zappi as well. Does Oladokin need to start worrying about the QB3 designation? Minshew has cemented the QB2 spot. There's no question in my mind about that. Bailey Zappi is starting to look very, very sharp from time to time. Bailey Zappi is no stranger to the Kansas City Chiefs. The thing with Oladokin that might give him the edge is he's not the fastest guy in the world, but he has a physicality when he runs the ball. When he's very good at escaping in the pocket. So if things all go to pot and you have to have that third quarterback in there, the franchise might be in the situation where they have to have a guy that is able to scramble around. In addition, he probably offers different looks in practice than can Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew and Bailey Zappi have more similar games than Chris Oladokin and either of those quarterbacks. So if you're talking about a scout team quarterback, Oladokin might be the better pick there. I have not had Mike Edwards making this roster anytime that I have talked about projections. He is a little bit physically limited. You see him mistiming a jump here. I know it's just one play. You can't overreact to those sort of things, but I think that is, unfortunately, something that Mike Edwards has started to have happen more often in his game because he is a little bit physically limited. More physically limited than some of the Chiefs' other options at the safety spots. As an older player, does Mike Edwards really want to be out there on special teams? Because if you are the final safety on the roster, that's what you're going to have to do. Now, Jalen Royals is continuing to make plays. I think Jalen Royals has the upside of a number 2 wide receiver in the NFL. Fellow rookie receiving threat, Brashard Smith, showcasing his speed off the left side on an off-tackle run. Elijah Mitchell may need to start standing out. Even though I doubt the Chiefs go into the season with just 3 running backs, it's possible. Elijah Mitchell, I don't think would pass through waivers and end up on the practice squad. Brashard Smith, I don't think would either. I don't think you're going to do that to Brashard Smith when he has shown out the way he has in camp. I think they have Brashard Smith as a part of this offense in the future and this season in the future. Carson Steele might be a practice squad option. I think he probably would slip through waivers. But the Chiefs seem to be trending towards speed at the running back position. So, what is it that the Chiefs want to do with this running back spot? Do they want to keep 4? Do they want to keep only 3? If you keep only 3, the odd man out right now is Elijah Mitchell, and I think he ends up on someone else's roster. So, it might be that they take 3 into the season, end up losing Elijah Mitchell, Carson Steele passes through waivers, and he becomes the practice squad running back. Another note here from Nick Jacobs. Zappi with a great ball to Tonyan on a vertical route. It would have been a 30-yard plus gain. Robert Tonyan is starting to turn heads. Now, this RAS score looks a little bit different because it's from all the way back in 2017. An 8.54 RAS score. Robert Tonyan goes 6'4.5", 236 pounds at the time of his NFL draft. He ran a 4.58 40-yard dash, which is a pretty good time for a tight end. He had 16 reps on the bench press, a 1.53 10-yard split. I should not have passed that up. A 1.53 10-yard split is likely why he is having all of this success. Very sudden off the ball. A 38-inch vertical is exceptional as well, scoring 9.55 out of 10. A 10-foot-5-inch broad jump scores a 9.5. A 4.34 short shuttle is a 6.59. A 7.12 short shuttle is a 6.37 score out of 10. The shuttle numbers, so if Brett Veach seems to like vertical leap and linebackers, it seems that he likes the shuttle numbers and tight ends, something just worth keeping an eye on as we approach another NFL draft. Then we have not good, very bad, notes. Caleb James saying Tranquil got shaken up a few plays ago, taking a knee off to the right now, leaving the field but riding in the front seat of the cart. And Charles Goldman saying the Chiefs are scratching Drew Tranquil. So this makes it sound like not a big deal. Leaving the field, riding in the front seat of the cart, took a knee, right? Did not get carried off the field or anything like that. This makes it sound a little bit more troubling. The Chiefs are scratching Drew Tranquil from the media availability lineup today. Maybe he just has to get iced. Maybe he just has to get things compressed. Hard to say, but not what you want to see if you're looking for a guy to bounce back. He got hurt and went up the hill in the front of the cart after practice. More on that from Big Red soon. Big Red obviously being Andy Reid. I do not have the notes on that yet. I am trying to get this out to you as soon as possible. That is all I have for this video. I will be back later, I believe, with notes on one of the new players. There's another video idea that I have that has been kicked around some of Chiefs Tube a little bit. I was able to catch a little Chiefs Tube, a little bit of All Chiefed Up, and a little bit of How About Those Chiefs? Cole over there. And there is something that I've been talking about for quite a while that is now starting to be rumored, but that video may be coming tonight, may be coming tomorrow. Not sure exactly what I'm going to be doing for the next couple hours. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, consider hitting the subscribe button, because the Chiefs are the only thing I cover on this channel, and I hope to have you back for the next one.